All right, so today we're going to talk about the organization chart in TouchStone, and more importantly, we're going to talk about organizational strategy, what that is, how to build one using TouchStone, and how to use it to help manage your business. So this is the organization chart in TouchStone. I'm going to go back here to the dashboard just so everyone can see how I got here. So this is the dashboard, and this is what everyone sees when you first log into TouchStone. To get to the organization chart, you just go over here to the left, right here on the left navigation, and click Org Chart. Simple as that. So first, let's talk about technically how to use the chart, which is actually pretty simple. The organization chart is in a hierarchy. So you see boxes going from the top all the way to the bottom here. To move the chart in and out, to make it bigger or smaller, all I'm doing is moving my mouse in and out like this, the roll part of the mouse. So you can expand the chart, make it larger, or you can shrink it in just by making it smaller. So just like that. You can also move the chart around just by holding your mouse click, and now I'm dragging it from left to right like this. When you pull it all the way this way, it's going to plop back to the end of the chart right here. So if your chart is long and you want to see the right or the left side, just pull over and you'll see it adjust back, but it adjusts back right to where the edge of the screen is. This icon right up here allows you to search your chart. So for those of you with big organization charts, if it's spanning really wide on the screen or long up and down, and you want to see a particular position, you just type in the name of that position, and it's going to pop up and show it to you, and then it'll highlight that position. I'll just do that again. You can see it highlights right there. When your chart gets, mine's relatively small, but when your chart gets wider and longer, if you have a big organization, there's a scroll bar right here to the right that'll appear, which will allow you to move it up and down. You can always drag it up and down, but you can do it in a more controlled way. For those of you who prefer the slide bar, will do that. To add a box to the chart, you go to the position that you want to add the box under. So if I go to Bookkeeper here and I click these three edit dots, I'm going to see the functionality of the chart appear. So I can edit the title of this position right here just by choosing Edit, and then this window will pop up allowing you to add the title, and you'll also get to see the objective field. The objective is the purpose of the position. So why does it exist? What is it here to do? It's the headline of the position. Like if somebody asked you, what does the bookkeeping position do? And you had to say it in a sentence, that's what this is, the objective field. When I click these three dots again, I also see the remove button, which is down here below. So remove means delete that position. So if I chose this, it's going to give me one chance to change my mind right here. And if I say OK, then that position will be deleted from the org chart. Also here is where you add positions. So if I choose Add, then I'm going to see a new box appear right below the position I was on. So the org chart adds positions from the bottom up. So you would go to the box that you want to add the position under, choose the three little dots again, and select Add. Now that this position has been added, it's going to be untitled until I give it a title. So I'd go again to these three little dots, and I would go Edit, and then I can put in the name of my position. When you're putting in position names on the org chart, make sure that you're using actual position names, not somebody's name. I saw this in an account the other day where someone's org chart was completely people's names, and there was no titles at all. The reason you want to put position names is because if you don't do it that way, then you're making it people dependent. You're making that box about a person. And if you do that, then that person leaves, then suddenly, it's not a position, it's that person. So make sure you use position names. If you do want to put a person's name, you can put it a little hyphen and put, an actual name there if you'd like. And then on the face of the chart, you'll see that person's name. Now, only do that if you really like it that way and really want to have it that way. And the reason is to try not to do that is normally if you have more than one person that fills that role. So let's imagine you had 5 salespeople over here. You first of all don't want to have 5 sales boxes. If it's the same position and those people are all doing the same work, then just have one box and call it salesperson. There could be 5 people that fill this box, but as far as the org chart's concerned, it's one box and 5 people fill it. It's not 5 boxes. It keeps your chart a little tidier. It makes it not as big, which is easier to view and deal with. Inside of TouchStone knows who fills this box because it's through account administration. So if we go up here to account administration, you'll have users on your user list like these. And if these 3 people, Mike, Bill, and Mary, are all salespeople, then they're assigned to that sales box. So if we choose Mike here and we go to user access, we're going to give him access to the salesperson's position. And then we go to Bill and give him access to that same position. So when those 3 people are doing things in TouchStone knows that it's unique to their username and password, so it's going to save those things on the dashboard differently. It also gives you the flexibility to give people different types of access, because you may want Mike to have create access, which means he can edit and change things, where maybe you don't want Bill to have create access. So build usernames and passwords for every box on every person in your company, and then assign them that role on the org chart. So let's go back here to the organization chart. You can also move boxes around the chart really easily. So if I put this under bookkeeper, but then I decide, no, I don't really want it there, I'm just holding my mouse, click down, and I drag it on top of the box I want to move it under, and then it flips it here underneath this person. So it's all just drag and drop. I can drag it here, and now it's going to move it here. Okay. So that's the basic functionality of the org chart. It's pretty straightforward. I just want to show, since we're here, one thing, because I had this question through the Resource Center the other day. If you want to print your chart, the easiest way is to use a snipping tool. So this is Jing. It's a snipping tool that I really like. You could also use, the snipping tool that comes inside of your operating system. But with Jing, I can take a screenshot like this, and then I'm taking a picture of the whole chart. And then when I hit capture, now this is a picture in Jing. And I can then save this and print it. You're going to run into print issues as far as the length and size of your paper goes at some point with the org chart, because if it's landscape or really long, then it's not going to print on one sheet of paper. I also could have, just going to move this to the side, I could have shrunk it down and then taken a picture of it too. But at some point, you can see it gets too small to see. So it's just navigating the issues with printing things on the internet. But if you do want to print your chart and it's the right view screen, then this is the way to do it using Jing. Oops. All right. So a couple other just tips about the chart. Number one, I already covered, but I'll just say it again quickly. If you have more than one person who fills a box on the chart, it's all the same position, just more than one person, only have one box, and then assign those people to this role through through account administration. Another tip is if you want to see the chart or print it, I guess, just by departments, you can use these little buttons here to get rid of the or hide, I might say, the chart below it. So if I just wanted to see this hierarchy and I wanted to print it, then I could do it this way. I could shrink these departments here to just see this operational department. So this is a tip just for printing the chart or being able to view it. You can print just by department by using these little negative and plus signs to shrink the positions down or to hide them temporarily. All right. Any questions about the chart? Doesn't look like it. So let's talk about how the chart is actually used. So the chart itself is not just a tool in TouchStone. It's a strategic tool that can and should be used in your business. So one way of making this a strategic tool is to think about your vision for the future and then to build the chart as a representation of that business in the future. So last week we talked about strategic planning in the webinar last week. And for those of you who weren't there, there's a process inside of the 4 key functions here inside of guiding the business that you can download called strategic planning. It's right here. So you just go to the library and download it. So if you did this strategic planning process or you have a strategic plan, then you can think about the sales goals, the profitability goals, growth, expanding into different products and services, whatever your goals are for that year. And then you can look at the chart and say, what positions do we need to hire in order to be able to achieve those goals that we have for the year? So simply put, think about your growth and then plan the organization chart out so that it helps you to get to those goals, to get to those sales goals. So let's talk about every department here on the chart and things to be thinking about as you build or consider those departments. So first of all, in good organizational development and organizational efficiency, there should be departments in your business. So here you see we have the sales and marketing department here. We have operations, which delivers the products or services here. And then we have the office or finance administration over here. From top to bottom, it starts with the board of directors. Now, if you don't have a board of directors, I would still recommend you keep this position because these people here, even if it's just one person, they're there to increase the profitability and the value of the business. That's what shareholders do. They think about the business as an asset, and their work is about to maximize the value of that asset. They also care about people and culture and the positions within the business, but they ultimately look at all of that in determining and planning for the increased value of that business. Below the board of directors or owners, you might call it that if you want something a little less formal, is the president. President, general manager, CEO. So this person reports to the owner, the board of directors. This person's role is to implement the vision set by the owners, set by the board of directors, and implement that vision throughout the company and in its key departments. They manage the key results of every department. If you're this position and this position, your business is growing and you are the president or the CEO, the philosophy still remains the same. And this org chart can help you see it. So your role up here is different from your role down here. And the processes on this job description should be different than the processes here on this job description. So you can use this to compartmentalize the work that you do and really plan for doing that work. Below the president, you see the main managers of every department. So we've got sales and marketing manager, operations, admin, finance. The managerial roles under the president are vital to the effective running of any business. So there needs to be a person over the department here whose main objective is to implement the vision of the business through the employees below. The vision for this department is get business in the door, generate leads, convert those leads. That's the objective of this position. The objective of this position is to deliver the products or services on time, every time, exactly as promised, efficiently, profitably. So they get the leads and sales from over here, and their role should be focused primarily on delivering those products or services. The office department, admin, finance, their role is to support the rest of the company efficiently doing their work. So this department's main role is to provide services to the rest of the company over here, which allow them to focus more on their roles. So bookkeeping, reporting, human resource policy, administration, IT support. So that's this department's primary role. Without a manager ahead on top of those roles or departments, then the running of each of these departments becomes compromised. So even if you're the president, the owner, and this position, and this position, and this position temporarily until your business starts to grow, then those are 4 roles that you need to focus on. So hopefully most of you are not in that situation, but if you are, don't put those positions in your future org chart, because it's again vital to the efficient running of any business. So starting here with sales and marketing, below the manager, there are 2 main results that need to happen within this department. There needs to be the generating of leads, and that's these people here. And then there needs to be the converting of those leads, which is these people here. There's a difference between activities and work that is done to generate leads and activities and work that are done to convert leads. Typically, these people don't necessarily have the same skill set as these people, especially in today's world of internet marketing, social media. There's a whole skill set to that, which is important to have processes for and hire people to do. So think about, when constructing this department, think about the growth sales goals of your business for the year. Consider how your lead generation activities will need to improve or need to be created, and then consider conversion rates and sales processes for the conversion of those leads. So I'll say it again. Think about the lead generation activities, the advertising that you need to implement throughout the year to generate enough leads to then have enough for the business to grow, for your sales goals to be attained. Then think about all the leads coming in from these activities and then the conversion of those leads. So marketing is a science to a certain degree. I mean, it's an art, but it's also a science. What I mean by that is you should be able to say, I have $10,000, I'm going to invest in lead generation activities. That's going to produce a certain number of leads, and then those leads will be converted at a certain rate. That's how it's a science. So think about these numbers in your own situation. And rather than just hoping through word of mouth and referral that the business will grow, think the business hopefully will grow through word of mouth and referral, but that's not proactive. So think about the proactive lead generation activities. This is where processes come in. So every box on the organization chart has processes, except for that one, that's blank. Every box on the organization chart should have processes within it that either generate those leads or convert those leads. So here we've got appointment process, selling processes. So the salespeople are hopefully using processes that they're trained in to convert those leads. So when you're saying that, when you're thinking we need to get the conversion rate up, it's about dialing in that process to be able to count on it converting leads at a certain rate. It's not about people doing things, it's about the process and the people using the process. Same is true here in advertising. So each of these boxes on the chart should have processes in it, which are the lead generation activities that you're investing your money in and that leads are coming from. So plan out this department based on your goals and keeping in mind lead generation and lead conversion, and what your goals are for that. Those two numbers or those two activities are going to allow you to see what positions you need here. So if this department's coming together and leads are starting to flow in, the conversion is happening, then all of that new work is then being put on this department. So within an operations department, you want to think about how you're going to scale it. So again, we're talking about how to plan for your organizational strategy, so how to plan for the growth of the business. When new leads are coming in and new sales are coming in, these people need to deliver what is sold on time, every time, exactly as promised. So in this department, you want to think of the key positions that you need to be able to deliver those services. So this is an example. It's kind of twofold. This is it's probably a production or manufacturing type of setups. We've got technicians here, and then you have kind of warehouse over here. But the same concept could be true for service delivery. You imagine this just says senior service, lead service, apprentice service. So think about the products and services you offer. Think about the positions that are necessary in order to get that work done, and then create the structure within your operations department. Sometimes it's good, if you haven't thought about organization strategy, to kind of wipe your mind clean with it and look at this anew and say, if I was to build a business delivering and doing what I do, how would I construct it? And get out of your mind all the people and personalities and your brother and sister that work there and all the issues you've had with people. Just set that aside for a moment and think about, what would a good functional operations department look like? There's a technique in operations that works really well, and it's this that you're seeing. So this is entry level, this is the junior, and then this is the senior. I've got it here too. This is entry level advertising assistant. This person might do easier things related to advertising, and then this is the senior position. Warehouse, same thing. This is the associate. This person does not as complicated work as this person. When you're a service delivery company or a production company, this kind of setup helps when you're thinking about scaling your business. So I hire people here. They learn the processes on this job description. Then they're moved here. And then they learn the processes on this job description. And then they move here. So this is called growing your own talent from within. You're hiring here, moving here, moving here. You own this training process. So when people are here as apprentice and they're hired in, then they learn these processes. You could even decide how long it's going to take them to learn each process and put a time to each one of these that they're supposed to learn. Then when they've mastered those processes, you move them up here, and then they learn these processes. And these are a little more advanced than the ones below. Then when they've learned these processes, they move here. So it might take, depending on how complicated your business is, it could take a year from someone to go from here to here. It could take 3 months. It could take 6 months. It could take 3 years. It just depends, again, how complicated your processes are. But the value of building it this way is you can then plan for that. You can say, we're implementing a ton of new lead generation activities. Our leads are converting at this rate. So as we move into the second quarter, we're going to have X amount of more work. So we need to hire 3 people here, so then that we can grow and develop them up into here in time to deliver those new services. In a growing small business, it's always a balancing act between this department, sales and marketing, and this department, operations. And you all know what I mean. It's this constant juggle. So what the situations we find ourselves in are either there's not enough leads coming in here, and so these people, you're laying people off, your overhead is too high, or it's the opposite. Tons of leads and sales are coming in, and these people just can't deal with it because they're not trained. There's not enough of them. So that situation is where you're hearing yourself say, I can't find good people. Nobody's as good as me. Nobody's as good as Bob. I've looked everywhere. Everyone's irresponsible. I hate the millennials. All those things that you say to yourself. And it's because you're in dire straits. You need someone to do the work now, and you're going out trying to find that person. And sometimes you could get lucky and find the senior tech, and oh boy, that guy's great. Most of the time you don't, though. So this is why growing your own talent from within and planning for that is so important. It costs money, though, right, to grow someone from here to here to here. So it takes time and it takes effort. But TouchStone and your processes are everything when it comes to this. Because if you can count on the fact that they can learn the processes here, learn them here, and then move here, that helps in what this buzzword everyone uses called scaling the business, being able to grow it systematically, being able to count on your training processes. So think about your own version of this. What would it look like? What positions do you need within your organization structure? This position right here, customer service, is a good one that sometimes people ignore. In smaller businesses, the manager could do the customer service, but this is complaints. It's making sure you get referrals. So customer service, sometimes is over here. Just depends on where you like to see it the most. But don't forget the work of this position. So there's a lot of statistics about how it's easier to resell to someone. It's like 75% less money to resell to an existing customer than it is to get a new customer. And that's all about the customer service. Now this department. So this is the support department. This is the overhead, sometimes it's referred to as. There is such a thing as having too much overhead, and then there's more what I see is not enough. So within a office department, we call it sales or manager of administration and sales, general manager or office manager. There are key things that need to happen in any business. The obvious is bookkeeping. So this is the quantification of everything that's happening over here. If you don't know what your sales are, how in the world are you going to do anything that I'm talking about? If you don't know what your profitability is, how in the world are you going to do anything really? So having good bookkeeping, timely, reports right after the close of the month is essential, and having good bookkeeping processes and all of this done accurately so then you can feed that information to all of these people is, absolutely essential. Admin, like receptionist, office processes. This is like filing, organizing, making sure the copy machine's working, answering the phone, greeting people, follow up sometimes. So to the degree that you have people over in this department doing administrative things is to the same degree that all of these people are allowed to be more efficient. So if this person's filtering phone calls, it makes it easier for these people here. If customers are calling in and they're collecting information about what they need and why they need it, it makes it easier for this person here. So having things organized, providing support. There's also human resources that exist. Inside of the TouchStone libraries, we have a ton of great human resource processes. So look for them in running the business over here in the 4 key functions. These are basic things like recruiting and hiring, employee handbook, how to fire someone, policy. So don't underestimate the value of these types of processes. It's typically not known until it's too late that you needed these processes, and they're pretty easy to implement and use. If you have a human resource person, even the manager, if you're a smaller company, doing the recruiting and then getting really stellar candidates to put in front of these people, that is way more efficient for these people and for this department. So think about those human resource processes. Who's going to do those? It's not the accountability of every manager to do those. I think that's incredibly inefficient. If this person has to recruit, hire, filter, do the paperwork, schedule their own people to come in to hire, it's way less efficient for them. They should be doing things like productivity planning, looking at job costing, what job How's the estimating working? There's a ton of stuff that an operations manager is more suited and better to do than doing their own recruiting. So think about your vision for the future of your business. Consider what we talked about here: lead generation, lead conversion, conversion rates. Think about the infrastructure of your service department or your operations department. How are you going to grow your own talent from within so that you're ready to deal with the new sales that come in? This is not an easy thing, and sometimes the costs are hidden. So I was talking to an HVAC contractor the other day, and he was saying, we've had our best sales month ever, but I look at our P&L and we're not making any money. So the very first thing that I think of, and once he thought about it, it was clear too, is that as the sales are coming in and this department is being overwhelmed with those leads, because he didn't have good training in place, because he doesn't have trained staff, they're losing money on every project they're doing, on every service call that they're performing. Not every, but most. And it's cost of goods sales where they're losing the money. So what that means is it's taking this guy, say, twice as long to do it as this guy. Or this guy's making mistakes that are causing materials to be overrun. So there are these little subtle mistakes that are happening because of lack of training, lack of oversight, because there was no operations manager. And that's a variable cost. So the more the sales go up, he can sell things all day long. He could have quadruple his sales in 1 month. But if the variable costs aren't in alignment, he's going to lose money every time. So that's just another reason why thinking about the efficiency of this department is so important. Start measuring the time it takes people to do things, and then you'll see. Just simple time sheets can help. Some of you have more elaborate production management software which does this for you, but those of you who don't, just simple time sheets. Figure out how long it's going to take. How long does it take someone who comes in brand new? So this guy's just looking over this guy's shoulder in that example, and he's kind of teaching them as he drives around, which is incredibly inefficient training. But add all that up and see what it's costing you. And then when you hear me talk about doing levels and training this guy for 6 months and this one, you're going to see quite quickly how the expense of doing it the way you're currently doing it is way more than what I'm talking about here. Someone's asking a good question I'm going to answer. I have a few questions coming up, but I'm going to answer this question because I get this question almost every time and I love it. So he's asking what happens if you spend I'm paraphrasing your question. He's asking what happens if you spend all this time training this guy from here to here and then he gets here and quits. That's one of the risks. The only way to combat that is to make your business a place where everybody wants to be. Create a culture that is alive. Value your employees. Ask them how they're doing. Create an environment where they want to be. I read this statistic the other day because I love business statistics. Something like 75% of the time, people quit because of this person, or this person, or this person, or this person. It's management. It's bad management. I hated that manager. He was horrible. You guys have probably all heard this in one way or another. Bad management is oftentimes the culprit in why people quit. What you can do to combat that is have managerial processes. Train your managers in them. We have a lot of great managerial processes over here in guiding the business. Create a place people want to be. Michael Gerber says this in the E-Myth book. Create a game worth playing. That's how he says it. Jim Collins also says it. He said, find people that want to be on your bus. Well, you have to have a nice bus in order for people to want to get on it. So work on your management philosophy. Deal with toxic people. Deal with it. And care about your employees. Simon Sinek is also a really great business philosopher, and I saw a podcast of his the other day, and he talked about this scenario where you have a salesperson, say, and the salesperson's had 75% conversion rates for a year, and then suddenly they are dropping the ball, they're not following up on leads, their conversion rate's horrible, sales are getting lost. And so the manager goes to that person and says, God damn it, what is wrong with you? What is happening? Your conversion rate is horrible. What Simon Sinek said to do instead of that, which I wholeheartedly agree with, is to sit down with that person and say, how are you? What's going on in your life? Then say, what's up with the sales and follow-up processes? Let's talk about those. So it's just a different way of being, and it creates a place where people want to be. And that's really your only way to make sure people stay in this senior tech position. In fact, if you have a place people want to be, you're going to have all the senior techs from your competitors' businesses coming to you because it's going to be a great place to be. Just this simple act of having an org chart and saying, you're going to start here, and then you're going to go here, and then you're going to go here, that is a breath of fresh air to most employees. It's tangible. You have to learn this. It's going to take you 6 months, and then here, and then here. Wow, I can see how I'm developing as a person and how my career is going to go. So think about this future organization chart. Now let's talk about, okay, so build your future chart and then use it. So let's talk about how that can happen, because this isn't a theoretical exercise that's going to happen in a year. This is something you can use right now. So let's imagine we've built this future chart and we have people now filling these boxes. So once your chart is built, then start putting people's names in boxes for what they're doing now. So you may have a salesperson, you may have someone doing advertising. This position might be open because it's a future position. This position might be open because it's a future position. But this person's name's got to be in this box. So put people's names in boxes for what they're doing now. Then look at the organization of that. If you have a person who's the bookkeeper and the warehouse lead and customer service, consider what's happening to that person and consider reorganizing, if you can, to make their job a little easier. So when you hire people a lot of times in small business and you don't have structure, you don't have processes, you hire them to do a certain thing like salesperson, and then you also need them to talk to customers because they're calling and they're angry about their service not being delivered well. You also need them to do scheduling, and they're also really good at computer stuff, so suddenly they're doing computer stuff. And now we have this guy named Sam who's all over the company. He's like the best thing ever. He's doing sales, he's doing management, he's whatever we need him to do, he's doing. And that's good and bad. It's good because it's filling the needs that you have right now, but it's bad because you're dependent upon that person. If Sam was to leave, it's going to create a huge hole within your organization. So that's the selfish reason for not doing it. The personal reason for not having someone in that situation, it's incredibly stressful to be that person. And some of you know what I'm talking about because most small businesses have a person like that. They're multitasking, they're constantly having things to do, they're having their to-do list that never goes away. People are asking them to do all kinds of things. They don't even know who their manager is because they're being called in so many different directions. It's an incredibly stressful way to go to work every day. It's also terribly inefficient. We talked about this department having a mindset, generate leads, convert those leads, lead generation. This department has a mindset, deliver service, deliver service, deliver service. And this department has a mindset, support everyone else in the company, provide support. If you have Sam, who's sometimes thinking lead generation, sometimes thinking customer support, then everyone's calling and needing stuff, it's inefficient. He's not productive. So if you have that situation, plan your way out of it. So think to yourself, we want Sam to be full-time sales by the end of this year. So that means we need to hire a customer support person, and we also need to hire a receptionist. Put a future hire date in the boxes of these positions or in the titles. So here, if you select the box, which takes you to the org chart, I can go here and do like Q2 2020 and then save it. So now when I'm looking at my organization chart, I see that date right here. So think about, as you grow, how to hire people in to get rid of people filling multiple boxes throughout different departments. Another thing that I think is just a rule that can be followed right away when you're marrying the future chart of the future with the present situation is never have two people's names in one role. So this situation where there's 5 salespeople, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a position like this one. There's one sales and marketing manager. If I have 2 people filling that role, then it's the old adage, if one person's not accountable, then nobody's accountable. It's a very ineffective situation, and it usually happens when I have a really great salesperson. I need someone to be the manager, so I promote that person up here way beyond their capabilities and before they were even ready, and I've got no processes to train them in, and I say, hey, be sales manager. That person's going to fail because they don't have the skills. They don't have the ability. They haven't been trained to be the sales manager. So now I've got these salespeople or the sales assistant trying to get support from this person. They're failing miserably, so they're coming to me anyway because this person's ineffective. So if you're in situations like that, then pull that person back temporarily. Put your name in this box. Do a future hire date. Say, I'm going to move you back here because this is the new organization strategy. This is how we're going to do it going forward. In Q2 of 2020, I'm going to have documented all the processes here for management. The expectations will be clear, and then we'll move you back up, or we'll open that position to hire. Those are difficult conversations to have, but it's better than having the pain of it all, which exists, and everybody feels it throughout the organization. So marry the future with the present by putting people's names in boxes for what they're doing now. See if there's something you can do about people who are pulled across the organization chart. Building the job descriptions, this org chart, as a matter of fact, is going to be a breath of fresh air for anyone that you have in that situation. Because for the first time, they're going to be able to see, I'm a salesperson, I'm the bookkeeper, I'm the receptionist, I'm also customer support. So they're going to be able to see it in more of a structured way. And then that's going to allow you to delegate better. It's going to allow you to delegate the work in a better way. Another thing that happens with this is if you, let's say you're the operations manager, and then you're doing a lot of work that you don't necessarily need to be doing, but you haven't been able to delegate it because you think to yourself, it's too vital, I have to do it myself. There's no way to train someone else how to do it. If you have work like that, you can then build a process for that work, whatever it is. And this is reminding me of a situation like 2 weeks ago where there was literally the sales and marketing or the admin finance manager, and he was doing the gifts that they send out to their customers, which is really important, but he's doing that work. And I said to him, let go of that. You got other more important managerial things to do. And he said, well, I can't because no one else knows how to do it. Well, that's a pretty obvious example. Document the process for that and then delegate it to this person. So document the processes for these positions and then delegate them to the people below. It's a way to get out of work that a manager shouldn't even be doing in the first place. So for those of you who don't know the connection between the 4 functions in the org chart, I'm just going to show you that here quickly. So this is that position we just added. How TouchStone is organized is all the processes from the 4 functions over here are linked to one box or another on the org chart. So that's how these job descriptions appear. So for those of you who weren't here last week, over here in the 4 functions, this is going to be a list of all of the processes that you have in your business. Master list is here. Pull things from the library, list things out here. So once you've got this master list of processes, you then go back to your org chart and you assign them to positions on the org chart. So I go add existing process. This is just strategic or tactical section of the job description. I go to the sub-functions and I look for the processes that this position is responsible for. If it's a finance position, I choose that sub-function. Now here's all the finance processes. So then I just choose the one that this position is responsible for, and I hit save. And that creates the job description. These job descriptions are these very concise, clear lists of what this person is accountable for, what this position is accountable for. And when you've then gone and documented the processes, so using the tools over here, you create work plans for how to cut checks, you document it all, then this is the training for that position. Pretty simple. This is the training. This is how they do it. So these job descriptions are not just what they do, they're how they do it eventually, once things are documented. Any questions about any of that? So someone's asking about, I think I'm going to answer, for the person who's asking the question about training, I'm going to answer that here in a second. But I think it's a really good question, so I'm going to answer it when we talk about the dashboard. So I want to show you two processes. One I already showed you last week, and I'm going to show you a new one, that come from our library. And these processes, I think, work really well with the organization chart and thinking about organizational strategy. If someone was to ask me, what are the 3 key strategic things every business should have? It's a hard question to answer because there's so many, but I would probably say, if I was pushed, organization chart, organization strategy, a vision, so your vision for the future, and then a financial plan or a budget. So those 3 tools are key for anyone who's planning the growth of a business. So we talked last week about the strategic planning process. So this can help you if you don't have a vision. So this is a process where you can build a simple vision. It doesn't have to be a business plan. It's not 50 pages long. It can be a simple 1-page document. It can be as simple as using this form here just to say, okay, these are the quarters of this year. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are our annual priorities. So we want to increase sales, better customer service, 70% conversion rate. Want to implement social media to produce leads. So you put in all your annual priorities. You can add a little description here. And then you break them into quarters. You say, what are we going to do the first quarter? So if you're thinking about your organization strategy and you're going to improve your conversion rate by 70% by working on the sales process, or you're going to increase leads by 20% because you're going to implement new social media, then you need to start to think about, okay, if these leads start coming in like they should by Q2, then we need to start to hire some apprentice service people or technicians. So this is a way to do a simple strategic plan for the year. It doesn't even have to be written out if you don't want it to be. These are just key goals that you would go over. So if you have these goals here, then we go back to the organization chart. So this is a picture of those goals. So these should be the positions. Going to hire this in Q3. Those 2 people will be up here by Q4. So use the organization strategy and the vision together. Then the last piece is a budget. So inside of running the business, just clicking running, you can go here to the library and download our budgeting process. There's nothing, out of the ordinary about the budgeting process. It's a template, and it really is just as simple as that. So we have a few work plans here on if you want to export data from QuickBooks, this is like a step-by-step for that. This is a budget creation work plan. This is a monitor and report work plan. But the heart of it is the templates. You can go on the internet and find any template. In fact, a lot of your accounting systems probably have a budget template. We have some break-even ratios and stuff like that if you're interested in learning about that. But here's the budget template. I'm just going to hit View File here, and it'll open. So why this is an important tool is it allows you to see in numbers your goals. So we have the vision, which shows you where you want to be at the end of the year. We have the organization chart, which shows you the positions you need to hire here or here in order to get to this number at the end of the year. And then The spreadsheet here is just a plan from here to there. So you have revenues, you can have labor, materials, commissions if you pay that, your labor expense, your fixed expenses. So this is your office department, as well as salaries, rent, obvious things like that. If you are going to invest money in lead generation, you can put that expense here in your variable costs or in your fixed costs if it's a fixed cost. And then if those leads convert, you spent the money here, they should convert here. So you can use some kind of planning like that to kind of see as you go through it. It doesn't have to be some big, long, complicated thing. In fact, I think a budget spreadsheet like this one might even be better for people, because oftentimes when you try to use your accounting system to do it, it just gets really complicated and busy. Condense it down, make profit centers if you have those. Just have this be a sales number. Don't worry about the fine points of it all. Just think about round numbers. Plug in your future organization chart in here to be actualized here. So what I mean by that is put in the salaries of those new positions. Put in the salary of the labor costs of the apprentice, and then have it move up and move up. Plan for the training. So this kind of simple tool, again, can really help you to see in numbers what is actually happening here on the organization chart. A number's telling a story about something that's happening. So the story is this organization chart and its processes. Those processes are tasks or steps which are feeding off results, giving off results. And those results are numbers if you look at it that way. So think about those three tools, the vision, strategic planning, organization chart, and then your budget. So since we have a few minutes here, I'm going to answer this person's question by showing you something. So the question was a little long, and Dave, if this doesn't answer it, then I'll send you an email just following up, and we can get on the phone and I can show you in your own example. But basically, the question is, how do you use TouchStone to demonstrate this whole, from here, here, and here? So growing someone using processes. There are tools on the dashboard that help you do that. So this isn't set up exactly for that scenario of technicians, but we'll just do this example for time's sake. So this is Mary right here, and she's the bookkeeper. So let's imagine that she's a brand new employee, and I need to take her through training. So this could be the apprentice technician, same scenario. I need to take that person through training, train them in a certain period of time, either in Mary's example to be an efficient bookkeeper, or in the lead apprentice example or the technician apprentice is to learn that box to move up to the next one. So when I click Mary here in management review, and I'm seeing her here because I'm logged in as this person who's her manager. So I'm going to select this, and I think this is already built. Yes. So these are the processes that are on her job description in TouchStone. So they're on the org chart. These processes have been linked to her job description. So when I select her from the dashboard, I'm seeing these processes. If she was to log in, she sees these same processes. It looks a little different here on the dashboard because I've used this tool here to create groups. So I just hit create group, and I put in weeks. Let's call this week 5. And then I've taken the processes and move them into the groups. So here's this. I just move that down here. So what a manager can do for that technician apprentice or for a bookkeeper, any position, build weeks. So think about, for an average person to learn all those processes, how long should it take? Now, there are always going to be, variable processes and things they do once or twice. So here we're focusing on the key rudimentary work that exists in that position. So then I've organized them into weeks. So I've said it's going to take 5 weeks to fully train the bookkeeper. And then I've taken the processes and just dragged and dropped them into the weeks. you can organize these in a way that makes sense for training. So these are like planning things. So these together, they kind of relate to each other. So let's do that all in 1 week. These are all about paying and bills and receiving money. So those are together. So you can organize them kind of, how they fit together. But you really want to think, how long should it take for someone to learn accounts payable? You can look at the process and say, okay, well, there's got these work plans in it. Even if the process isn't documented yet, think about that process and how long it should take, and then put a time frame to it. So this takes 3 days, this takes 2 days, this takes 4 days, this takes 1 day, this takes 4 hours, this takes 3 hours. So as the manager, add it all up. If you've never done this before or thought about this before in terms of your subordinate's work, then guess. Guessing is better than not doing anything at all. Once you do this once, it's going to become apparent. But think about, on average, how long should it take? And then build it into training weeks. So now I know she's going to be trained in 5 weeks, and this is 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So now Mary here can log into TouchStone in her dashboard, and she'll see her control panel here, bookkeeper, and she'll see the weeks. And then she can go to accounts payable, and she can study this, read this, watch videos if they're in here, memorize it, watch someone else do it for a while, practice it. And then when I'm happy with her training here, I just click this little flag that says train all, and these little check marks appear. I can even keep notes inside these processes regarding her training. And so now I know, oops, I went too far. Now I know she's trained in this process. She's got this little check mark, and now we're going to go to this one. So this is a way to use TouchStone to step a person through their training. Now, even if none of the processes are documented, this is still a far better way of doing it than what we call the tribal method of training, where it's like, just come watch me for a while. This is way better. You can even have Mary in accounts receivable through her job description on the org chart, documenting it as she's learning it. In the tribal method of training, people are furiously taking notes, sticky notes, notepad paper. They're trying to remember what you're saying. So why not have them do it in TouchStone? Why not use the training as an opportunity to develop the processes? Another thing that you're going to gain by doing it this way is you're going to start to see the numbers behind all of this. So when I said in the budget that those numbers represent a story, well, in each of these processes, there's a certain amount of time it takes to learn the processes for a competent person. If Mary ends up not being competent, I'm going to see that much sooner than I would if I didn't do it this way. If it takes her 4 weeks to just learn accounts payable, well, we got a problem, right? She's not a good fit. There's an issue. So that's a benefit of this. The other benefit has to do with the vision, the org chart, and the budget. If I'm in this scenario and I'm going to hire this person, if I've planned it out like you just saw, I know it's going to take 5 weeks for this person to learn what they need to learn. Then they're going to move up here, and it's going to take them 10 weeks to learn this, and then they're here. So while a person is here in that 5 weeks, I have to plan in my budget for the expense of that, the cost of the training. Then when I move them up here, there's a cost there. So if you're looking at it in weeks and you've timed it out, you can apply their wage to that plus overhead management, and then suddenly you know it's going to cost $5,000 or $10,000 to hire someone here and move them up to here. Now that's golden, right? When we're talking about the budget, that's huge because you see the expense of scaling your business. You see the actual expense. This expense is usually hidden in the tribal method of training because it's just a blur. Now you're seeing it in a more concrete way. So we're near the end here, but I'm just going to tell you my joke since we're talking about this subject. So the CFO or the CEO says to the CFO, it's going to cost us so much money to train all these people. You see the expense of it. And then the CFO says, yeah, but what if we don't do it? So the CFO says, yeah, what if we don't do it? And so that's the joke, but that's the reality. It's going to cost you so much to train. Yeah, but what if you don't train them? What if they just don't get trained? Is that an alternative? So next week, we are going to talk about job descriptions. So I'm going to show you in TouchStone how to build the job descriptions, how to use the technology or the structure. Sorry, I'm timed out. The structure in the job descriptions, how to build them, what they are. But the most important thing that you can get by coming next week is I'm going to explain to you why these job descriptions in TouchStone are the most important management tool your business has ever seen. If you have managers, have them come to next week's session. This, without a doubt, is the most important management tool that any manager could ever have. And I'm going to explain that next week, as well as, technically how to build job descriptions. For those of you who I didn't get to your questions, I will be emailing you directly. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'll talk to you next week.